Hello and welcome to the Academy. My name is Gavin Cowser. I'm one of the English teachers here in the Dublin Academy of Education. And basically what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little look at some poetry. So effectively what we're going to do in kind of 70 to 75 minutes in this kind of free online course is to really give you a kind of a sample and a flavour of how we do things here within the school. So in kind of 70 to 75 short minutes, I know that sounds kind of oxymoronic starting off by talking about kind of that extended period of time as short, but we'll get through it collectively together, and we will get through it nice and quickly. Is we'll have a little look and see how much we can effectively cover within this time, all right, within this time frame. And effectively what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and chalk up as much of 17.5% of our entire English grade as possible. So that's our goal today, guys. That's what we're going to look at, and hopefully by the end of this little video, you guys walk away with, if not, I suppose a majority of that, but certainly a part of it as well. All right. So, guys, this is typically how I run my classes within the school. So anybody kind of looking to sign up to the grinds this year, typically what we'll do is we'll have one column on the board. You can see obviously we have 3 working boards in front of us here, and that's typically the way it is in our classrooms. And this is effectively what we try and get covered within the class, and then obviously then we go through our working boards in conjunction with the notes as well. So guys, this is who I am. As I said there, my name is Gavin. I've been teaching here in the school for the last 6 years, and so I've been teaching Leaving Cert English for the last 12 years. So again, hopefully I'll try and get I suppose a good chunk of that information across. Okay, we are, as I said, going to look at poetry, so 17.5%. And again, where that 17.5% is made up, we're going to look at unseen poetry. This is something, guys, that is often neglected by students. It's often left till last, which is a good thing, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about timing and kind of paper management a little bit later. But it's often left to last, and in some cases it's neglected totally, and people just, I suppose, take it upon themselves not to take on the unseen poem at all and try and amalgamate the time that they would have spent on that topic to elsewhere in the paper. And I'm going to talk to you today about how that's something that you 100% should not do. That this effectively, guys, is a very achievable, very obtainable 5% for all of us watching out there, okay? So we're going to start with a little bit of unseen poetry. And then what we're going to move on to in the second half of today's class is we're going to look at our studied poetry, okay? And we're going to look at getting this 50 marks, 12.5%, and we're going to look at Sylvia Plath, one of the predicted poets we often talk about here in the school. We talk about predictions. We know how they're so important to you guys watching at home. And again, we've been very successful with our predictions over the last number of years. Obviously, considering COVID and the Leaving Cert being cancelled, obviously there was nothing to predict this year. But certainly the year before that, we were very successful. We do feel that Sylvia Plath has a really, really good chance of being on the paper for you guys come June. So we'll have a little look at her as a poet. We'll walk you through kind of her poetic voice, her techniques. We'll have a little look at a sample of her poetry, because again, normally in the grinds, what we tend to do is we tend to spend 2 evening classes on a poet. So we might spend Thursday of one week looking at the beginnings of Sylvia Plath, first 3 poems, again, poetic voice or style. And then in the second class, the following week, we look at the following 3 poems, or our second set of 3 poems. And then we look at our sample answers. And we look at, again, that exemplar material that we give to you guys. And you can see that are at the back of the notes. There's 2 sample essays given to you guys in the handout that you have now in front of you on Sylvia Plath, one of which is a really phenomenal essay, and I'll talk to you about that again at the end of today's class as well, and how we use sample essays as well. You know, gone are the days of simply rote learning and regurgitating the essays. That's not something that we encourage here. What we'll do is we'll look at that essay, we'll look at the 2 essays towards the end of this class and see how we're going to go about using them. All right?